Mystique Sonia, Lola Bunny, and Suki stride into the workroom and pose together for the main camera. They cheer in unison, proclaiming that they're the Pink Ladies and are here to rule the competition. Their declaration earns mixed reactions from the other queens as they enter behind the trio, ranging from confusion to amusement.
You heard that right. After Sabella went home and we nearly lost Sonia last week, we decided to name our trio. It might not be the smartest strategy per se, but this isn't all stars. I don't need the other queens to keep me here, and we have no intention of sabotaging anyone either.
The queens crowd around the center of the workroom, and Lusamine quickly asks Lola, Suki, and Mystique Sonia if the Pink Ladies cheer was meant to announce some sort of alliance. Lola responds that it's simply what they intend to call their friend group, since they've grown close both in and outside the workroom and want to build each other up in the competition. Yugi smiles and tells the three that it's fantastic that they've grown so close so quickly. Light immediately cuts in, stating that making friends is all fine and well, but he hopes they know how to keep to their own workstations, unlike last season's infamous trio.
Suki, Sonia, and Lola are irrelevant to my plans for this season, so I couldn't care less about their little group as long as they stay out of my way. Besides, the only real threat in that trio is Miss 2 challenge wins. The others will be gone soon enough.
Ignoring Light's jab, R2 remarks that it's oddly quiet in the workroom without C3PO, and Snow agrees, adding that everything feels real now that they're 2 queens down. The evil queen replies that the cast isn't small enough, before pointedly turning to the Pink Ladies. She tells the group that she can see how their partnership benefits queens like Mystique Sonia and Suki, but she fails to see what Lola gets out of the arrangement, especially given how well she's been doing in the competition. Suki interjects, asking what she means by queens like Mystique Sonia and Suki. The evil queen shrugs and bluntly states that, based on their performances so far, they are clearly inferior queens who saw an opportunity to latch onto a more talented competitor, rather than improving their own drag or re-evaluating their approach to the competition. Sonia claps back that their friendship is genuine and they just want to support one another, but the evil queen promptly cuts her off, asking what either of them has to offer a queen with 2 challenge wins.
What? It's a fair question. One of them has been stuck in the untucked lounge, and the other just lip-synced for her life. They can call it whatever they want, but bottom feeding is bottom feeding, and I'm going to clock it.
Lola narrows her gaze at the evil queen, stating that although she has a lot of respect for her skills after working together last week, she won't let her ruin this moment. She insists that she values Sonia and Suki's sisterhood and friendship, explaining that she spent most of her drag career working alone and expected this competition to be largely the same.
Other than Granny, Penelope Pussycat, and my bestie Tina, there aren't a lot of female drag queens in the Looney Tunes circuit. Building a true sisterhood with queens I can rely on for support is invaluable to me, and I hope I'll be able to lift them up too. The Pink Ladies will have each other's backs until the very end.
Snow turns to the Pink Ladies and tells them not to let the evil queen get into their heads, adding that she's never been able to stand watching others find happiness. She's like a vacuum for their joy. Several of the nearby queens gasp, and the evil queen glares at Snow, neither queen averting her gaze.
I swear to God, if the peg mail starts now, I'm going to throw one of these stools through the damn monitor. They've been edging us with this drama for 3 weeks. Everyone knows the tea between those 2 is scalding, and I want to see the extensions and wig glue fly.
The evil queen laughs, stating that she just calls it as she sees it and doesn't understand why Snow feels the need to comment on her every move, adding that it says more about Snow's insecurity than anything else. Unfazed, Snow replies that she singles her out so often because she has more experience with her than any other bitch in the room, and knows exactly what her game plan is. Amused, the evil queen challenges Snow to share with the rest of the class if she's so confident in identifying her former drag mother's strategy.
If she thinks that telling the other queens she used to be my drag mother is going to throw me off, she's dead wrong. I know her. She's a sneaky bitch, and she's trying to find ways to get under my skin. She's doing the same thing to Lola and her friends, all so she can pull ahead in the competition while everyone else tears each other apart. I know that's what she wants, and I have no intention of letting it happen.
As Snow starts to respond, a loud siren blares, earning groans from the other queens as Pegasus's face flashes across the workroom monitor.
My queens, I know that having to work together to create your own brand of alcohol was just so stressful for all of you. So in my trailer, I had the thought to give you a bit of fun before we start the next challenge. That's right, my dear friends. The lie detector is back to make sure I'm really getting to know your true selves. Whoever answers the most questions honestly wins.
Mystique Sonia won the mini challenge and will receive an advantage for the main challenge.
Let's go. From lip syncing for my life to earning an advantage. I just hope it's something I can use to get me and my girls into the top. I also hope I can be a little petty with this. I haven't forgiven the dark magician for last week, and I wonder how the evil queen will feel when she lands in the bottom because of an inferior queen.
My queens, thank you for those honest answers. I'm sorry to say that we'll be having you all institutionalized once filming ends. In other news, I hope that you're still camera ready, because this week, the 10 of you will be acting in Toon World Studios' latest and greatest project, Buffy the Drag Queen Slayer. Sonia, as the winner of this week's mini challenge, you will receive a list of the characters in the script and will be responsible for assigning the roles. I suspect you'll need all the time you can get, so I'll leave you to it. Ta-ta, ladies. And remember, I expect Oscar-worthy performances on that stage tonight.
Well, this isn't good, not good at all. To all of my fans, if she screws me over this week, send her a lot of hate. I'm talking Rosemont level shit.
Looking over the brief she's been handed by production, Sonia pulls Lola and Suki aside and starts reading over the roles. The three queens chat, clearly discussing who should get each part and whether they should let the others choose, which irritates a few of the queens.
Even if they're not planning to sabotage anyone, this is exactly why their little alliance needs to be snuffed out like a cigarette. Those three beasts acting as a unit will put the rest of us at a severe disadvantage, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let that happen.
Eventually, the pink ladies turn to face the rest of the group. Sonia tells the queens that she is going to assign roles to herself and her pink lady sisters first, and will then go down the line and ask everyone else which role they'd like. Lusamine scoffs, insisting that this method is hardly fair, and Sonia quickly interjects that she should have won the mini challenge if she had such a strong opinion. Before Lusamine can argue further, Sonia announces that she will be playing the role of Anya, Lola will be Willow, and Suki will be Tara.
The three of us discussed, and none of us wanted Buffy or Glory, even though they're the lead roles. I skimmed the script and tried to give us parts that would help us shine during big moments, let us share a few scenes together, and keep us from being on stage the entire time. Now let's see how many of the others I can piss off with my casting.
Looking at the remaining queens, Sonia starts with Snow White and says that, because she stood up for her last week, she can choose whichever role she'd like. Smiling, Snow thanks Sonia and announces that she'll play Buffy, eliciting shocked gasps from the other queens.
I'm a damn good actress, and I'm not afraid of having a lot of lines or stage direction. I know taking the lead role is a big risk, but I'm ready for it. I've been treading water in this competition for 2 weeks, and I'm tired of being in Untucked, where the judges can't see me. That changes now.
Sonia nods, stating that Snow will play Buffy Summers. She then turns to Light and asks him which role he'd prefer. Light replies that he thinks he would make an excellent Spike, and Sonia tilts her head, clearly surprised by the request, but admits that she has no problem giving him the role.
When you're on Insta, follow me. It's okay. I'll wait. Great. Now that you can see my content, scroll through and take a look at some of the body shots I've gifted my followers. You'll notice that I definitely have the physique to play Spike. I can do the voice, I look good in a leather jacket, and I think I'll really shine in this role.
Continuing down the line, Sonia asks R2 which role he'd like. R2 struggles to make a decision, going back and forth between a few roles before eventually settling on Dawn, which Sonia assigns him without issue.
I've never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I have no idea who any of these characters are. I went with Dawn because she has a few big moments where she steals the scene, although I don't fully understand a lot of her references. I won't be on stage that often, so I'm hoping I can get myself together and deliver a cohesive performance.
Sonia turns to the Dark Magician and the Evil Queen, who are the next two in line, but pointedly skips over them, instead asking Yugi which role he'd like to play. Enraged, the Dark Magician demands to know who the hell Sonia thinks she is. Sonia calmly replies that she knows he has an issue with charity in this competition, so she's decided to extend that courtesy to someone else. The Dark Magician opens his mouth to fire back, but is cut off by Lola, who states that whether he likes it or not, he'll receive a role only when Sonia feels like giving him one. He glares at her in response, while the Evil Queen simply smiles.
Oh, watching these three act like they hold all the cards would be sweet, if it weren't so pathetic. Poor Sonia really thinks that she's getting back at me by letting the others choose their roles first. Fine. I'll leave the pink ladies to their so-called strategy. The truth is, I'm operating on an entirely different level, especially when it comes to mind games.
Sonia turns back to Yugi and apologizes for his friend's interruption, before again asking which role he'd like to play. Without hesitation, Yugi says that he wants to be Xander.
Honestly, I blurted out the first role that came to mind just to avoid more arguing. Xander might not be the most popular character, but he has a lot of screen time and gets to interact with most of the cast. I'm really hoping that this will be my big breakout moment.
Sonia moves on to Lusamine and asks which role she'd like. Without a moment of hesitation, Lusamine replies that she wants to play Glory, the villainess. Sonia laughs, saying she expected that answer, and tells Lusamine the role is all hers.
Glory is a fabulous villainess who towers above all of the other peasants with whom she's forced to coexist. She's got body, serves great face, wears incredible clothes, and has flawless hair. So naturally, I know I'm going to devour this role. I'm glad I snatched it up before the Evil Queen could. We may be working together, but if I want to even the scales in our partnership, then I need to outperform her this week.
With only 2 roles left, Sonia turns back to the Evil Queen and asks if she'd like to play Joyce Summers or Giles. The Evil Queen laughs, shooting an amused look at Snow White, before remarking that she gets to be her mother all over again. She quickly tells Sonia that she'll play Joyce, which elicits a loud sigh of disgust from Snow.
That was an easy decision. Joyce isn't the most remarkable role, but it'll give me more time to mess with my favorite queen in the workroom. Oh, and she was so confident when she asked for that lead role. Well, I can see how much she regrets it now. She said I was a vacuum for joy, so I suppose I'm just doing what comes naturally.
With a smug smile, Sonia looks at the Dark Magician and tells him that he'll be playing Giles. Barely able to contain his rage, the Dark Magician glares viciously at Sonia and the other queens.
Fucking ugly pigs in wigs. Giles wasn't the role I wanted, but I'm going to make it work. I refuse to give Sonia the satisfaction of taking me out, and I'm damn sure not leaving Yugi alone with Light. It's bad enough that I can't get what he said to me and untucked out of my head.
Sonia faces the group and announces that the roles are final, insisting that she won't be changing them. She wishes everyone the best of luck before heading to her workstation with Suki and Lola. The remaining queens form into groups to begin practicing their shared scenes. The pink ladies are hard at work, with Lola and Suki rehearsing their scenes together while Sonia touches up a few seams on her runway outfit. Pausing their run-through for a moment, Suki thanks Lola for firing back at the Evil Queen earlier, and Lola waves the comment away, insisting that it genuinely wasn't a problem.
The 3 of us formed the Pink Ladies because we like to do drag that celebrates strong women, and because we don't really have a sisterhood back home. I wouldn't be living up to those ideals if I let the Evil Queen walk all over my friend. End of story.
Smiling as she finishes her final scene, Sonia turns to Lola and Suki and asks if they'd mind helping her prepare her monologue. She adds that she's struggling to memorize some of Anya's lines and would really appreciate their help.
We chose roles that we thought would help us all shine. And Anya has a lot of funny moments that will let me show my comedy chops. It's just that she speaks really quickly, and I'm having a hard time keeping all of her lines straight.
Lola turns to Sonia and they begin reviewing Anya's lines together. Suki continues to practice on her own, but stops abruptly after a moment and walks over to Lola's outfit. Cocking her head, she calls out to the other queen and says that it looks like a few seams are about to snap. Running her hand over the fabric, she offers to tailor it for Lola before the runway.
This isn't some master plan or anything. My offer is genuine. Lola's outfit is nice and could definitely land her in the top, depending on how she performs this week. I've been sewing garments for years, and I know when a seam is holding on for dear life. I'd be happy to return the favor and help out my sister for a change.
Lola steps away from Sonia and inspects her outfit, kindly telling Suki that she doesn't need to waste her time fixing something that she won't be wearing herself. Suki quickly shakes her head, insisting that she wants to help. Lola looks hesitant, but soon sees Sonia leaning forward with concern, and her face softens. With a small smile, she thanks Suki and admits that some help would be much appreciated.
If it were coming from anyone else, I'd think they were trying to sabotage my look. But I saw those loose seams too, and if Suki wants to help, I'll let her. I need to embrace this whole sisterhood thing if the pink ladies are going to work and beat the evil queen's allegations.
Lola returns to Sonia's side so they can resume running lines, and Suki starts up a sewing machine to fix Lola's outfit. The three fall into an easy, comfortable rhythm. R2-D2, Lusamine, the evil queen, and Snow White are rehearsing their scenes for the challenge, and the air between Snow and the evil queen is brutally tense.
If I were struggling to deliver my lines like R2, I'd be pretty pissed that half of my group is too busy glaring daggers at each other to function. Instead, I'm completely and utterly amused. I have my characterization for the challenge down pat, so now I can focus on helping my only ally throw our leading lady off her game.
R2, Snow White, and the evil queen begin working on the same scene, and tensions flare as R2 fumbles his lines, forcing Snow and the evil queen to repeatedly revisit an emotional moment in the script. After their third read-through, the evil queen sighs and bemoans the group's astounding lack of professionalism, stating that she expected someone like R2 to remember a few lines. R2 huffs, insisting that he's doing his best but is having trouble understanding his character.
I'm not a rookie. I've memorized lines in a pinch before, but I usually have a better grasp of the references. I'm a science fiction girly, so this low to mid fantasy jargon and California slang is making my servo spin. And I'm going to make Queenie's servo spin if she keeps speaking to me like I'm a child.
Snow walks over to R2 and says that she'd like to help him with his role, instead of barking at him like certain other people. She promptly casts a sharp look at the evil queen, who raises her hands in mock defense. Lusamine interjects, stating that Snow should focus on learning her own lines instead of trying to prevent her sinking ship of a friend from capsizing. Snow turns to Lusamine and replies that, if she wanted advice from someone who doesn't have a single friend in this competition, she'd ask.
I'm just trying to help my struggling friend, and I know exactly what game the Bad Drag Moms Club is playing. The evil queen and Lusamine think that if they keep needling me, it'll make me forget my lines. They're wrong, but I wish I weren't stuck working with them so I could have avoided this dynamic entirely.
The evil queen snickers, stating that she loves how predictable Snow has always been, unable to resist helping a poor, whimpering puppy caught in a trap. Snow replies that the evil queen is just as predictable, always choosing the bitchiest possible course of action, which makes her next move easy to anticipate. Unable to take the constant bickering, R2 breaks and asks what's really going on, insisting that there's clearly something deeper beneath their catty bitching. The evil queen starts to respond but is cut off by Snow, who says that if anyone is going to share their story, it'll be her.
Sure, I'll let the fattest of them all stand on her little soapbox and tell the cameras how awful I am. Boo-hoo. She wouldn't be where she is now without everything I've done for her. And she should be grateful.
Snow explains that she had a falling out with the evil queen after winning Miss Cartoon Continental, adding that the evil queen was once her drag mother and they used to be very close. Almost reluctantly, she admits that the evil queen deserves a lot of credit for guiding her through the pageant scene when she was just starting drag. She continues that, although things were great for a while, they quickly changed when Snow began winning crowns that the evil queen had once won herself.
At the end of the day, she's a user. She manipulates people under the pretense of helping them, and the moment they start to surpass her, she gets jealous and lashes out. When I was chosen to compete in Miss Cartoon Continental, she stopped speaking to me and disowned me as her drag daughter. Then, after I won the whole thing, she started blacklisting me from major events. She made it difficult for me to tour during my continental reign, and she even went after my husband, Florian, which hurt his ability to book gigs. We argued back and forth for months before she eventually backed off, and this competition is the first time we've seen each other since. It'll also be the last.
The evil queen laughs, saying that she doesn't remember things going down that way, but she's fine if that's the version of history Snow wants to cultivate for the cameras. She adds that she has no problem being viewed as the villain, because it's a role she wears well, even though the real reason they fell out is that Snow was an ungrateful, backstabbing drag daughter.
That wasn't actually the reason, of course, but I know saying this to her will only make her even more furious, which I find hilarious.
Oh, how all this mother and daughter drama reminds me of home. Queenie is such an expert at getting under people's skin. It's fun to watch her work, especially when it helps me pull ahead of her in the challenge.
Snow and the evil queen stare at one another, the evil queen grinning from ear to ear as Snow begins to grow red in the face before stopping to take a deep breath. She states that she's above these little games, but tells the evil queen that she will outlast her in this competition and take the utmost pleasure in sending her home. The evil queen says nothing in response, instead winking at Lusamine as the pair return to their scripts and continue rehearsing their lines. The dark magician and Yugi are busy running lines together, while Light watches the other two groups with a bemused smile.
I'm on cloud 9 right now. The Girl Scouts are too preoccupied braiding each other's arm hair to slay this challenge, and Snow White is dealing with her childhood trauma in real time. Now, it's time to finish what I started in Untucked and perform my own magic trick, making the Dark Magician disappear from the competition.
As Yugi and the Dark Magician start to fall into a steady rhythm, Light quickly interrupts, asking Yugi if they can practice their lines together since they have a lot of shared scenes. He adds that he's having a hard time rehearsing on his own and would appreciate the chance to exchange ideas. Yugi nods and starts to walk towards Light, which elicits a frustrated sigh from the Dark Magician, who demands to know if Yugi is really going to bail on him mid-practice for someone he just met.
I hate being put in the middle over stupid things like this. I need to practice my lines, but instead, I've got these two pulling me in different directions. I don't want to leave Dark Magician high and dry, but Light is my friend too, and he's right that we have more scenes together. Plus, Dark Magician is an actor. I know he can memorize lines on his own.
Light interjects, innocently insisting that he didn't mean to come between their friendship. He adds that the Dark Magician is a much more experienced actor, so he figured he wouldn't mind working alone for a bit. Yugi nods, saying he had the same thought, which only serves to infuriate the Dark Magician further.
Let me make one thing clear. My problem isn't that I'm worried about remembering my lines. My problem is that Light is a two-faced snake in the grass, and it's driving me crazy that Yugi can't see it. I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone right now.
The Dark Magician tosses his script onto the table, shouting that he can't believe Yugi is really throwing him, his longtime friend, who he has worked with for years, to the wolves because another queen needs help every week. Yugi claps back that Light isn't forcing him to work together, adding that he sees Light as a friend and wants him to succeed. He tells the Dark Magician that he knows how talented he is, so he shouldn't need to lean on Yugi for support. The Dark Magician snaps that he thinks Yugi's reasoning is absolute bullshit, insisting that he's really just self-conscious about how the viewers will perceive him if he teams up with a friend from back home. Yugi says that he doesn't know what the Dark Magician is talking about, but the Dark Magician doubles down, arguing that Yugi is so worried about being viewed as favored by production, that he's casting aside a real friend to help someone who's clearly using him to get ahead. Light raises his hands in defense, saying that he genuinely just wants to be Yugi's friend and is beyond grateful for his help. The Dark Magician points a finger at Light, telling him not to bother with the fake nice bullshit, because he already knows exactly what kind of person Light is.
Wow, it only took knocking over one domino to paint me as the innocent victim and make the Dark Magician look like a crazy monster who's screaming at me for no reason. Now, Yugi's pissed and is definitely going to help me, while his sidekick will be a mess going into this challenge. It looks like I won our little game after all, doesn't it?
The Dark Magician continues berating Light, who stands there with his hands raised until Yugi steps in, shouting that he's said more than enough. Yugi explains that he originally planned for all of them to review their lines together once Light was up to speed, but now thinks it would be best if the Dark Magician practiced alone, since he seems determined to be an absolute nightmare. Stunned, the Dark Magician says that he didn't realize Yugi could be so fake and is shocked that he can't recognize who his real friends are. He quickly grabs his materials and storms out of the workroom to collect himself.
Maybe he's right that I'm being self-conscious about how people are going to perceive me, but fake? I've never been a fake person, and he knows that. I'm just hoping he cools off so we can make amends before the challenge, but that's on him, not me.
Clearly upset, Yugi stares at the workroom exit for a long moment. Light quickly slips an arm around his shoulder and asks if he's alright. Yugi replies that he will be. He just needs to refocus. Light nods, telling Yugi that he doesn't need the Dark Magician anyway, especially now that Light has his back. The duo returns to rehearsing their lines until production calls the queens to the main stage. Snow White slayed the challenge.
I was in my element from the moment the cameras started rolling, and I could tell that Pegasus was gagged to see me in action. I knew the entire script like the back of my hand, despite Lucimin and the Evil Queen's best efforts to throw me off my game. I was easy to direct, I performed my stunt work perfectly, and I looked fantastic. I even made it through my emotional scene with the Evil Queen without turning her lights out. All in all, I devoured this challenge, and I feel incredible.
Mystique Sonia, Lusamine, Evil Queen, Lola Bunny, and Suki had a great performance.
Working with my Pink Lady sisters really helped me bring my performance as Anya to life. I owe Lola so much for running lines with me. I was funny and made the most of every moment I was on stage. I even got through my monologue without missing a beat. Honestly, this was the bounce back I needed after last week.
My performance as Glory was, well, glorious. I was a villainess like no other. Fabulous, wicked, deadly, and just the right amount of camp to seem authentic. I truly don't think that anyone else could have done as much with this role. I played off of Snow's Buffy perfectly, and I know I'll be bringing home a win for the Pokemon Dynasty.
I did well as Joyce Summers, but it isn't a role that was meant to stand out in the script. I played sickly sweet to my dearest daughter, and we got through the scene without trying to kill each other. I'm a little disappointed that my tricks didn't work as well on Snow as I'd expected, but I'm a patient woman, and I'm very skilled at finding new ways to piss off my enemies. I know I'm safe this week, and that's all that really matters.
I think my performance as Willow was really strong. Still, in a cast of such talented actresses, I'm worried that I fell into the middle of the pack. Sonia and Lola were pivotal in helping me make the most of my scenes, but I'm wondering if I should have done more to stand out in front of the judges.
Dark Magician, Light Yagami, and Yugi Muto had a good performance.
I needed to get out of that workroom before I hit Light over the head with something heavy. And no, I didn't want to try to talk it out with Yugi. If he insists on running lines with Light and acting like a complete fool, then that's his problem. My performance as Giles wasn't especially strong, but I didn't drop any of my lines, and I'm hoping that's enough to keep me out of the bottom this week.
I definitely looked like Spike, but there wasn't a lot for me to do on stage other than pose shirtless and deliver a few witty one-liners. I don't expect to be in the top, and frankly, I don't need to be. Everything is going exactly to plan. Once the Dark Magician is gone, next week's challenge is mine.
My fight with the Dark Magician really threw me for a loop, especially since we didn't get the chance to reconcile before the challenge. It's no wonder that our interactions on stage fell flat. I know I could have delivered a funnier Xander, and I'm hoping that my runway is enough to keep me out of the bottom tonight.
R2D2 had a bad performance.
Call me Valentina in Rent Live, because baby, that performance was rough. Snow tried her best to help me, and I'm just happy that throwing me a lifeline while dealing with a mediocre villain's brigade didn't mess up her performance. I know I missed the mark this week. My Dawn Summers wasn't funny in the slightest, and I barely knew my lines. That's all there is to it.
Welcome to the main stage of Cartoon Drag Race Toon World, Season 3. Allow me to introduce our scintillating panel of judges. First, she's the season's resident judge, the witch in the garden. It's Akiza Izinski. Next, we have our special guest judge, the icon that I know you're all gagged to see. She's Kim Possible, if Kim could stake an undead bitch. Give it up for Buffy Summers. This week, we asked our queens to act their hearts out in Buffy, the Drag Queen Slayer. And tonight on the runway, category is Monster Mashup. Buffy, darling, this challenge was all about you. What are your thoughts about that? And do you think you'll be able to slay any of the monsters on our runway tonight?
Well, when you have an icon on your judging panel, you'd better make the whole night all about her. As for slaying monsters, there's one on stage right now that I'm dying to take out.
Ooh, what are you thinking? Steak or crossbow?
Steak. Let's keep it traditional tonight.
Ladies, you're both forgetting that I don't have a heart. Take your best shot, Vampire Slayer. It still won't get you on Hulu.
Snow White, Lusamine, and Yugi Muto slayed the runway.
My look tonight is a cross between Elvira and Medusa. I can already tell that the judges are loving my snakeskin bodysuit as I slither down the runway, making my train look like a tail. I'm wearing a massive breastplate. My body suit is slashed down the center to show an equally massive amount of cleavage, and my Elvira-inspired wig is made entirely out of animatronic snakes. This look wasn't cheap, and I know I'm enthralling everyone on that runway.
As the mommy dearest of drag, I went a little more literal with my monster mashup look by combining Faye Dunaway's Joan Crawford with Leatherface. I'm wearing a fitted bathrobe, my skin is dotted with a mix of patchwork scars and beauty cream. And my dear Lily, sorry, Christina, won't need to worry about any wire hangers, because this mommy is swinging a chainsaw instead. Bladeless, of course.
I'm serving a look that's a little sexy and a little fashion, blending the famous Kaiju King Ghidorah with a Playboy bunny. My body and face are covered in 4 layers of separate prosthetics, along with 2 enormous prosthetic heads on my shoulders. Dragon scales hug every inch of exposed skin, and I don't even want to talk about how difficult it is to put a bunny nose on one dragon face, let alone 3. I look adorable and terrifying, and I just really want a burnt carrot right now.
Lola Bunny, Evil Queen, and Mystique Sonia had a great runway.
My runway is a tribute to 2 of the most fabulous female monsters in horror history. Draped in a sleek black dress and wearing gaunt, bone-white makeup, I'm serving authentic vampira glamour. But that's not all, folks. I added a little grunge to the glamour by distressing the gown and choosing a long, ebony wig that covers my entire face. I'm creeping down the runway, giving the full Samara from the Ring fantasy, and I can only hope that I won't trip and fall on my face.
Combining a witch with a devil for this runway was an easy decision, considering that I'm the most wicked devil on this cast. I'm wearing my longest horns, a full set of facial prosthetics that make me look terribly weathered and wrinkled, and I even brought a rhinestoned broomstick. Truly, I'm the most vile hag of them all. Now I just need to make Pegasus take a bite of my apple.
Japanese horror has many unique elements, and I decided to celebrate the myth of Kuchisaki Onna with my runway, fused with a witch. I'm wearing stilted heels that nearly double my height, a long, black wig that drags behind me like a train, and I'm wielding a prop knife in one hand while covering my mouth with a mask in the other. When I get to the end of the runway, I finally lower my mask, revealing that I painted my face to look like it's been slit from ear to ear. I feel like I've really done my culture proud with this look.
Suki, Light Yagami, Dark Magician, and R2D2 had a good runway.
For my look, I decided to do a cross between Carrie White and a zombie. I'm covered head to toe in fake blood and gore. I'm wearing dark green makeup. And I painted my entire body to have a bony, rotted texture. I'm trying to stray away from traditional Kyoshi glamour tonight and really capture the judge's attention. I like my look, even if it isn't as loud as some of the others.
I don't usually create scary looks, because when you've got a face card like this, why would you ever mess with it? Still, I'm a bitch who follows the prompt, so my look is a blend of a werewolf and a mummy. I'm covered in fake fur and wrapped in countless strips of torn gauze. I've painted every inch of skin to appear filthy and disheveled, and this all feels very new to me.
I went a bit campier than I usually would for this runway, presenting a pig fused with a female gremlin. I'm rolling down the stage in a painfully pink mermaid dress. My makeup is gremlin-style cakey, and the whole thing makes me feel incredibly monstrous. I'm trying to perform and really sell the look, and the judges look vaguely amused.
Lusamine, Mystique Sonia, Snow White, R2D2, Dark Magician, and Yugi Muto. You represent the tops and bottoms of the week. Lola Bunny, Evil Queen, Suki, and Light. You are all safe and may go untucked backstage. Now it's time for critiques. Sonia, please step forward. Akiza, start us off.
Sonia, this was a strong return to form. I wasn't expecting you to take on a role as campy as Anya, but you really hit it out of the park. You made the most out of her comedic moments, especially her monologue about the power of money, and it was a delight to watch.
My favorite thing about watching you these past few weeks is your range as a performer. You've shown us that you can serve great runways, make us laugh, and deliver a strong, dramatic performance. Now, I'd love to see you bring all of those skills and truly claim your spotlight on that stage.
Also, you deserve a serious shout out for this runway because it's both stunning and terrifying. The long hair doubling as your train, the fact that you can still walk in those shoes, and that makeup, unreal. You turned your entire runway into a performance, and it really helped you stand out from the other fabulous looks tonight. Great job.
All right, R2D2, please step forward.
R2, there's really no easy way to say this, but your performance tonight was the weakest of the group by a wide margin. I was surprised to see you struggle so much as Dawn, especially given your credentials as an actor and performer. Unfortunately, you seemed lost from the moment the cameras started rolling, and you fumbled some key moments that hurt your own performance and brought down your scene partners.
Considering how much you struggled with the material, I think choosing to play Dawn was a mistake. She's not an inherently funny character, so it was on you to find ways to bring her to life on stage. You also didn't have a lot of scenes, so when your few dedicated moments didn't really pop, we were just left wanting more. This was a bad night for you, R2.
I do want to give you some praise for the campiness of your runway. You served a strong character, which helped you stand out, although the look is a little crafty, especially compared to a lot of the other queens on stage. Look to your left and then to your right. You're being judged on the same level as your sisters, so if the garment isn't particularly impressive, then find a way to enhance it before hitting the runway.
All right, Snow White, you're up next.
In some ways, it felt like this marked your arrival to the competition. You kind of faded into the background during the first few challenges, but tonight you demanded my attention and made it so I couldn't look away when you were on stage. Your performance as Buffy was fantastic. You knew your lines, you hit your marks, and your runway is my favorite of the night. Fabulous work.
I think the starring role has a reputation for setting queens up for failure in challenges like this. But tonight you reminded everyone at home why it's worth fighting tooth and nail to be the lead. You had more screen time than anyone else, and you made every second of it count. You were campy, you were serious, you were powerful, and you were sexy. In fact, This might be the strongest individual performance that we've seen across all 3 seasons.
As the woman you portrayed, you have my complete and total seal of approval. It's incredibly difficult to learn fight choreography in a few days, let alone the mere hours you had to rehearse before the cameras started rolling. I also respect that you didn't just know your own lines. You knew the entire script like the back of your hand and were ready to respond accordingly. That's the kind of old Hollywood professionalism that gets you gigs. You really ate tonight.
All right, Yugi Muto, please step forward.
Yugi, while tonight was Snow's welcome to the competition, I'm still waiting for you to hit your stride. I'm going to be honest, I've been expecting a lot more from you. You've delivered some great looks this season, but it feels like you're content with being a background character in the challenges. You didn't have any standout moments in your scenes, and I'd like to see you really make these characters your own and transcend the material you're given.
I agree with Akiza in that I really expected you to grab my attention in these early challenges. Unfortunately, tonight was your weakest performance by far. Xander is an over-the-top character who you could have taken in several different directions, and you played him very middle of the road.
You knew your lines, but it seemed like you were overly focused on not upstaging anyone.
This is a competition, girl. Be selfish.
Although you struggled performance-wise, your runway is an absolute showstopper. Combining King Ghidorah with a Playboy bunny is equal parts insane and genius, and it's probably the most original interpretation we saw tonight. I was living for it, especially the way you executed the 3 heads. They look real and move naturally, which elevated this look to the next level.
All right, Dark Magician, please step forward.
Dark Magician, if I'm being honest, your Giles lacked a clear point of view tonight. While you knew your lines, there was no conviction in your delivery, and you seemed really uninterested in being on stage. You were in a lot of scenes, but when there were opportunities to claim the spotlight, it seemed like you couldn't be bothered to take them. I'm not sure what's going on with you this week, but it affected your performance in the worst way.
Truly, this might be the first time I've watched a queen give up partway through a few of their scenes. That aside, your runway tonight is definitely the weakest you've presented so far. I understand the vision behind the mummy-werewolf combination, but you're shedding fur all over the stage. And honestly, this is a drag competition, so if you're going to wrap yourself in gauze, it needs to be rhinestoned. Realism is one thing, but this look is just messy.
From the moment you walked onto this runway, you seemed pissed off. I don't know if you're going through something or are just checked out, but you clearly aren't performing at your best. You had a role with a lot of screen time and memorable moments, so you could have easily been safe this week. It just seemed like you didn't want to put in the effort.
And to round off the night, Lusamine, please step forward.
Lusamine, you were the Hell Goddess Supreme tonight. You took a role that was already in your comfort zone and elevated it to the next level. Glory is campy, but she also has a glamorous, self-satisfied air that makes her feel like a deity among mortals. You captured that energy perfectly in your performance. Truly, you were a fantastic villain and a big part of why your scenes were so successful.
Excellent performance aside, your look tonight is one of my favorites to ever walk this runway. It's exactly what I hoped to see when we created this prompt. It's unique and unlike anything that's been presented before, complete with a strong character. Faye Dunaway's Joan Crawford in full monster mode combined with Leatherface. It's seriously unhinged, and I cannot get enough. Be sure to keep this look, because fans will be lining up to see it at DragCon.
You were very strong tonight. My only criticism is that in the challenge, you didn't seem as ready to think on your feet during your scenes, which made you miss some opportunities to improvise funny moments. A big part of being a strong actor is the ability to adapt and riff off of others' mistakes to keep the scene moving. Instead, the second someone deviated from the script, you were silent until things were back on track.
Ladies, now that the judges and I have had time to deliberate and share our thoughts with you, we've made some decisions. Lusamine, tonight, the judges thought your performance as Glory was in a class of its own, and your runway was the definition of original. You are safe and may go untucked backstage.
I want to be happy about being in the top this week. but it's hard when I know that whoever wins over me doesn't deserve it. I had the strongest performance, and I served the most original look. Mama's pissed right now. I need to get into Untucked and drink someone else's cocktail.
Sonia, the judges and I felt that your Anya was the biggest scene stealer of the night. You are safe and may go untuck backstage.
Question for Queenie. Am I still an inferior drag queen now that I'm in the top and you're sitting in Untucked? I am thriving right now. I've rebounded from last week, outperformed everyone in my alliance, and I refuse to let my momentum stop here.
Snow White, you alone wield the strength and skill to stand against the vampires, demons, and the forces of darkness, to stop the spread of their evil and the swell of their numbers. You are the Slayer. Congratulations, my dear. You are the winner of this week's challenge.
It's funny, I used to think these post-win confessionals seemed really fake, but I genuinely can't describe how happy I was when Pegasus announced me as the winner. I've been in this game for a long time, and it's incredibly validating to be recognized for my talent and the work I've done. Trust, this is only the first of many wins this season.
Dark Magician, tonight, your Giles desperately needed some life, and the judges felt your monster mashup runway was a little too hairy. I'm sorry, my dear, but you are up for elimination. Yugi Muto, the judges and I feel that we aren't getting what we need from you in this competition. This is your first and only warning to snap out of it, darling. R2D2, tonight, your Dawn Summers wasn't the key to anything, and your runways are starting to border on basic. Yugi Muto, you are safe and may go untucked backstage. R2D2, I'm sorry, my dear, but you are up for elimination.
I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't expecting this. I know my lyrics, and I'm prepared to fight Image Receptor and Nail to stay. I have so much more to show, and I refuse to leave now, especially not after my best friend just went home.
This is not happening. I'm a top-tier drag queen and one of the most talented performers on the cast. I don't belong in the bottom, and honestly, I wish Yugi was here instead of R2. Light might be a rotten snake, but I'll take his advice on one thing. I'm going to make sure the judges' eyes are all on me. I have something big planned. I don't need to know the words to make an impact, and once R2 is gone, I'm going after Light and Yugi.
The lip sync song is Strut by Sheena Easton. R2D2 had a good lip sync. Dark Magician tried to lift up R2D2 and flopped the lip sync.
Ladies, I have made my decision. R2D2. Shantae, you stay. You may go untuck backstage. Dark Magician, Toon World's master of magic. Before you go, I have some sage advice from a famous elder. Drag is not a contact sport. Now, my dear, it's time to sashay away.
And so, the rightful winner of the season departs. Viewers, me, All Stars 1, make it happen.
This is Untucked.
The Queens congratulate Snow White for winning the challenge and R2 for winning the lip sync. Both queens thank the group. Yugi Muto, R2D2, Snow White, and the Pink Ladies gather by one of the couches. Yugi asks R2 how he's doing, apologizing profusely on behalf of his friend. R2 thanks Yugi and says that he still expects an explanation from the Dark Magician at the reunion, but for now is just grateful that he's still here. He adds that he isn't sure what else he can do to improve in the challenges. Lola interjects, insisting that R2 does know. She points out that the judges have consistently given him feedback on his looks, mug, and wigs, and keep saying that it isn't enough to slap the camp label on what he presents. She tells R2 to look at Sonia, who took the judges' critiques to heart and is back in the top this week. Offended, R2 responds that although he agrees there have been issues with his garments, he's been making an effort to fix them. He further counters that the judges have never said anything negative about his face or hair, so he isn't sure where Lola is getting that. Snow nods in agreement, saying that she doesn't mind Lola and her friends giving themselves a cute name to slap on merchandise, but they don't get to act like they're on some pedestal and talk down to everyone else. Lola steps back, insisting that she was only sharing her opinion, only for Snow to snap that it was both unsolicited and inaccurate. Yugi steps forward, telling everyone that this doesn't need to escalate into a bigger fight. Snow calmly replies that she isn't fighting, but also isn't going to let someone make jabs at her friend when he just lip-synced and is already feeling like shit. Before Lola can respond, Suki and Sonia pull her outside, leaving Snow and R2 to continue chatting with Yugi. The evil queen, Lusamine, and Light Yagami watch the tense exchange between Snow White and Lola with expressions of intrigue. Light turns to the evil queen and remarks that seeing Snow get into it with someone else must cushion the blow of her win. The evil queen laughs, stating that her ego isn't bruised in the slightest. If anything, she's happy that Snow won because it'll make it even more delicious when she falls from her pedestal and gets eliminated. Lusamine interjects, stating that she's been meaning to speak with the two of them but hasn't had a chance until now. She says that the pink ladies are a problem, but suggests that if they all work together, they could become an even bigger problem and help each other make it to the finale. She adds that she knows what Light is doing to Yugi and respects it, but could help him succeed if they join forces. Light laughs and tells them that the smartest thing they can do is stay out of his way, insisting that he doesn't need help and that any interference would just be an accident waiting to happen. Lusamine glares and asks Light what he means, but he simply shrugs, stating that they both know he's more effective on his own. He warns that he hardly broke a sweat getting the Dark Magician eliminated, so if either of them steps into his territory, he'll do the same to them. He raises his cocktail to the duo in a mock toast before walking over to Yugi and the other queens with a warm smile.
Hi icons! Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. And trust that Toon World has plenty more delectable shade in store for you this season. Now remember, be proud, feel free, and live your life, always.